Revolution Project, all about awareness and awakening. We got with us today Sam Parker Davies. Sam Parker Davies, what's up?
Hey brother, how are you?
Awesome, awesome. All right, I just woke up. This is all on the fly because it's hard to catch you. I know you got a meeting to go to, so I gotta make this swift. All right.
Man, I'm pretty into trying to get people or inspired about regenerative living. Because there's a big buzzword like sustainability and all that sort of stuff.
Okay,
Um,
regenerative
like
living. All right,
yeah,
then
regenerative living and regenerative design.
I'll take it in that direction. And since you got me, you gave me the key word. So check it out. How old are you?
Cool.
Are you still 21?
I turned 22 today.
22 today. What's up, man? Happy birthday, brother.
Thanks.
I'm lucky like that. Look at that. It's a blessing. I'm really curious to dissect a little bit, go into your mind and your heart and your the spirituality and part inside you. Like,
Yep.
you're in my mind, the real question is you're 21, 20, you're 22, and you've done so much, and we'll talk about what you've done, and you're doing so much and you know where you're going. I want to know, how does a 22-year-old person know so much? Not like the material that you're teaching, but like, how do you know the direction that you're going? I mean, there's people that are 30, 40, and they're still looking for their purpose, their path, you know what I mean? And in your life, it's so clear what you're doing. So like, I guess the question is more specific. When did this clarity come? How did it come? Was it installed in you? Was it like an aha moment? Was it an enlightenment thing? Did you see God? You know, like, where did that clarity come from? How did that path get formed?
Yeah. Okay. I'll I'll dive into it with a backstory if that's cool.
Yeah,
A
totally.
little bit about. So I grew up in the forest, but it was like kind of like a suburban setting in the forest, if you will. Like it's this big stretch of national park, like huge, with gorgeous mountains, gorgeous forest, and it's just thick, thick, thick with forest. And the reality of natural like disaster or natural destruction is not felt there. Like it's not seen. There's no farming. There's no mining. There's no environmental disaster, like as far as the eye can see anywhere. So you're in it. You're in something gorgeous. And as life started to unfold, there were definitely problems around me. My mother became homeless for a bit, and my parents split, and I was kind of like going through something really dark inside myself. Like I was getting pretty ready to leave this earth. I wanted to kill myself. I wasn't happy, and a lot of it was to do with this feeling or this understanding that I was a burden on planet Earth. I was a burden to the people around me. I was a burden to the planet that I lived on, and there was just like no way up. I just started researching deeper and deeper into the global political situation. I was 13, like I was 12, 13, a weird thing for like a young kid to be doing. But I started like diving deeper into what's going on, what's my role, what am I doing, how do I not be a burden, that sort of thing. And one day, like a teacher who he saw what was going on for me, he showed me this video about this man in the desert in the Middle East, growing a forest where there was desert. And something clicked over in my head and like, whoa, like we as human beings, our capacity is blocked by something, inhibited by something, and a lot of it's got to do with just what's in my head. Like this idea that I'm a burden perpetuates me being a burden. But then if I can step into, no, like I've got a gift to give, I'm a gift to this planet. How can I be a gift to this planet? How can I stop contributing and being part of the destruction of my home? Yeah. I think it's the fundamental reason we're destroying planet Earth. I think there's no other reason that I can understand or see that's more justifiable than we don't love ourselves. Because if we're Earth and Earth is an extension of us, why would we want to kill it? Like, why would we want to rape and pillage our mother if we love ourselves? Yeah, there's just no justifiable reason. And you look at what's possible. Like, you look at good permaculture design, and we meet all our needs. We do everything that's possible. We increase the quality of life by regenerating planet Earth. There's no agricultural system on the planet that can produce more than a well-designed permaculture system. There just isn't. You put like trees in straight rows, you till up the ground, you poison the soil, you destroy the planet, and you whack in the same tree again and again and again and again. But if we mimic a forest, we go, whoa, man, like a forest, it doesn't need watering, it doesn't need fertilizer, there's no poisons, life is good. Like, loads of things live in a forest, loads of things. Like, if you want to eat meat, if you want to have milk, if you want to eat fruit, if you want to have nuts, anything in the human diet, you want to make paper, anything that a human needs, it's in the forest.
Is that correct?
Yeah, man. My interest and my passion is to help the world as much as I can, like at whatever level that needs to happen.
I'm gonna jump into it. I'm curious. I want to see your perspective on this.
Yeah.
Let's say you live in a village, in your imagination, a beautiful place. 10 people. Everybody knows each other. Everybody loves each other, right? And now the next village over, they're having some kind of big problem. They're a little bit more. They've been in wars and stuff, civil wars, I don't know, whatever. But they've become more violent because of that. And they destroyed their area. Now they need a new place to live, so they try to come into your place, right? Different background, different religion, all that, which that's not important, but just more violent at this point, right? What do? Do you accept them? Because I know there's a lot of people that are having a hard time, here that are having a hard time accepting. It's like you want to do the human side, which is like help and protect everybody always. But then from another perspective, from a sustainable perspective, it's like, okay, we're only 10 million people. Can we bring in 5 million people? What cause and effect does that have? There's different culture, different ways. There's violence. You guys are poor. You're going to need to rob people. It's just natural. It's normal to have to steal to survive kind of thing. You don't really judge it and stuff like that. But like, do you continue with it? Do you support it? Do you not support it? Do you have any thoughts like that? Since you're a third person, like outside the box kind of thing. What's your perspective on that?
Maybe we need to think about how we're gonna remedy the situation in a non-confrontational, conflicting way. How are we gonna do something that doesn't add to the violence, but helps there be greater strategies to cope with violence and resource depletion? And the big thing that came up in my mind for Australia and then also for Greece, actually it was a big thing for Greece in my mind, was there's so many abandoned villages in Greece. There's so many places without an economy, without people living there, and with degraded land that is turning into desert. Greece is turning into desert pretty fast. Like, there's places in the northeastern Peloponnese that now have seawater in their groundwater. So the water that they used to pump up and use for crops, is now contaminated with huge amounts of salt that just kills anything it touches.
Wow. I didn't know
So
that.
people can't farm with that groundwater properly anymore. It's just a vicious cycle. Because if people keep farming with that groundwater, then the water evaporates and the salt stays. And the water evaporates and more salt stays, and it just turns into a hard pan that kills everything. The salting of soils is like an issue that the Bible talks about. So we should all know that this is pretty serious, that the salting of soils is a hardcore thing that we don't really want to be messing with, but it's happening everywhere, We're getting people in to teach these people how to restore the landscape around them, skill them up to be purely beneficial the cultures that they become a part of. And so we've got these people that are willing to make the change that's needed. And we've got spots where they don't need to be integral. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and the same goes for Australia. The same
I
goes
already
for
have a
pretty much any.
strategic plan in my mind. I'm listening to you. I have a strategic plan. I know
Yeah,
how we can solve this. I want to talk about this with you.
yeah, awesome. I want to hear it.
Let
You
me
got
go paint
anything to
my
add
nails
on?
first. Hold on, though. I keep seeing them pop up in the camera. They're hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, I love growing food, and I love the concepts around growing food, and I love the idea of just turning the world into forests of food, like they did in the Amazon, or like they did in the forests of Australia, the native people, and um, they'd bring food from one place, put food in another place, and then the trees would be food trees, and they'd live amongst forests that sustained them. So the forest wasn't built by the humans, but it kind of was. Like it was interacted with in a way that just became more and more abundant with stuff that supported humans. So it was an ever-enriching process of both human beings and the forest. And being on a big patch of land in Australia, because you can get huge amounts of land in Australia pretty cheap. I'm on this farm that I inherited from my granddad, and I'm able to play with this stuff so much. Like I'm able to see how can I restore a river. I can go down to the river and I can plant trees along the side of the river and see what plants work really well, what plants give me food. Pecans, I'm really excited about at the moment, because
Mm-hmm.
pecans love good wet soil. They love being near a river.
Mm-hmm.
So I can grow like a pecan forest, a pecan and blueberry forest along the side of my river. I can have the birds come back and I can have the animals come back and all that sort of stuff. And I can pop down and pick some blueberries and some pecans when it's the right season. And then around my house, I can have mangoes and bananas and all that sort of stuff, because I'm a bit higher in the landscape. They don't want something so boggy and so wet. That's fun, That's really fun thing to play with. Is how can I be purely beneficial on this land and totally meet my own needs? Makes me unreliant on the economic system. I don't need to do something I don't want to do. I don't need to go work a job that I don't love. Like I can have like a deep and meaningful relationship with this land that I live on. I can benefit other people by growing in excess of regenerative food. If I grow in excess, this land is supporting me more than I need. I can give it to other people, and they could even give me money in return, and then I can improve it, and I can do more and more and more with it.
So
we could go in.
What's the strategy on your regeneration then?
Yeah, sure. So we need to, in a desert or in any landscape, but particularly a desert, water is paramount. Water is the lifeblood of that land. And if we're going to regenerate that desert, we want to make sure that every drop of water that falls on that land stays there. We don't want to be losing like 80%, 90% to the ocean or to the sea. We want to be holding that water in that landscape so that we can grow things from that water. And then eventually that water sinks down, it starts building up the ground aquifer, and we start to have water underground that the trees can grow from as well. So in a desert landscape, you might dig a ditch on contour, and this is always like a hard thing to explain, but a contour is like if this is this is a level above sea level, and over here is the same level above sea level, and I dug a ditch the whole way along, and when the water dropped into it, it wouldn't flow one way or the other, it would just sit. It'd be like a long pool of water, just a long pool. And if you did that over a long amount of land, a huge amount of land, and the amount of catchment you have all this land surface, the water drops on it, because in hard, like desert soils, pretty hard for the water to sink in because it's been compacted. There's no life in it. It's not rich and crumbly, beautiful, dark soil. Like in a forest, it just sinks in like a sponge. It's like a hard sort of surface. It's like concrete. And it hits the top and just goes. And if you've got these ditches, then it goes and it hits that ditch, and it starts to collect in these big pools and distribute itself all the way across the land and sit there. And if you have trees planted near there, they're going to get fed by all that water, and that water is going to be a bit of a reserve for a little while the water starts to sink into the soil and starts to build up the ground aquifer. And those trees, as they grow, they're going to shade the big pool of water, so the sun isn't going to take it away anymore. And then as those trees grow, we're going to get material from those trees, and their leaves and their sticks and their bark, they're going to start turning into soil. Now, soil is the most important thing for human life. Water and soil, these two things, we need them to live. We're built out of these things, and if we don't have them, we die. So this soil, it starts to build the stuff that's going to bring back the life. It's going to bring back the life into the soil, the worms, the bugs, the little microorganisms that live in the soil, like little tiny nematodes and microarthropods, and these tiny little things that live in the ground. They're going to start to structure soil and allow more water to come into the ground and allow more things to grow, because they're going to be storing water like a sponge. Because that soil becomes porous and becomes holding. So it holds water, it holds nutrient, and it supplies nutrients to plants. The more and more complex plants can grow. We can start growing things that actually give us a huge amount of food. Or we can start growing things that grow in old growth forests only. This is the progression of nature. Nature started off desert, started off like pretty harsh conditions for things to grow. And then over time, the conditions built as bacteria started to glue particles together, and fungi started to glue those particles together, and then bigger things started to clump and grow, and then more organic matter came down, and the bacteria and the fungi broke that down into soil, and then started cycling those nutrients. We've only ever had what we started with. We've only ever had the material that's in the deserts. All that we need to turn the world into a forest is in a desert. We don't need anything extra than what's already there. You just need to use it smart. You just need to help it along. And nature will do this. Like if we give her an extra 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 years, she'll do it. But if we've got the methods and we've got the intelligence to help her, let's make it happen quick. Let's make it go a little faster. Why do we need to wait? When we can see a desert go from a desert to a forest, like a young early stage forest, within a decade, within 20 years, that's much quicker than if we were waiting 20,000, 30,000 years for it to happen. Like we could see people benefit before we even had a child. Before it's even gone to the next generation, we could see people starting to eat food from that forest, benefit from the water, for the rivers to start flowing for just that little bit longer, for the water to be hanging around so that people don't die of thirst and hunger. Because it's a real problem in the third world. It's like people are actually hungry, people are actually dying of starvation, and it's caused by war, it's caused by degradational practices, it's caused because people have forgotten how to respect the land. Yeah. But maybe you want to tell viewers.
Yeah, Easter Island, I learned it. I did a master's degree in sustainability, by the way.
Awesome, brother.
Weird story how I got into that, but whatever. But the Easter Island example is beautiful island, something like Hawaii, let's say, tropical, lots of trees and plantation. People were cutting down the trees so that way they can use to build their cities and houses and stuff like that. No trees to catch the water. All the rain comes down, washes away the soil. Then all of a sudden, no plantation, creates hunger, and therefore then the people didn't have any food to eat. So then they became cannibalism, right? So then they started actually killing each other and eating each other until they all ate each other up, and then no more life on Easter Island. And that's just a micro example of what's happening on a large scale on the planet, right? Check it out. I want to pass some of my ideas through to you right now, right? All right. So first of all, when you were talking about like digging the two ground things to start reforesting, is that layers of tunnel digging kind of thing to catch the water? Or because I'm imagining that if you only dig one long strip, then you'll get like 5 meters of plantation on one side and 5 meters on the other side. So you probably want like layers of the digging so that way you can branch out into hectares, yeah?
Yeah, kind of. But you got to think about how water travels. The way it travels on the surface of the ground is kind of similar to how it travels underground. When you got water soaking in underground, and that's where you want it in a desert, you don't want the water hanging out on the top. You don't want like a big dam of water like they've got in some places in the Middle East or in Australia or in America. You don't want big human-made pools of water. You want water underground. You want little wells with water storage underground. So when the water sinks in, it starts to flow down the hill. So when it starts to flow down the hill, everything else benefits. You'll have wetter soil for longer. You'll have all these things for longer. And you need to start somewhere as well. So if you're starting around, like say you've got enough catchment that it's like, cool, like I can put a swale here and it's going to fill up with water and it's going to benefit these trees. Then I can put another swale so far away that it'll have that catchment. And then, so you can do it like bands through the landscape.
So strategically for Peloponnesus, so I'm thinking, right? Is this possible the way I'm thinking it? So you look at the map, step one, you look at the map to see the area that is drying out that you were saying, like kind of becoming desert, right? And then you go and you see, for example, how much of that is available. Like, can you actually go and farm on these places? Is it public or are they privately owned so you can't really access them and stuff like that? Like, I'm figuring you kind of got to figure that out.
The legal stuff's always the most difficult part. Like the biological stuff, you can research it and it's like, boom, all makes sense, awesome. And how do we go do it? How do we get like stuff to happen? And that's something that a lot of permaculturists struggle with all over the place. It's like so when these big jobs crop up, like there's a job in Saudi Arabia at the moment. There's quite a few actually. There's the government in Saudi Arabia is kind of starting to switch on. They're starting to figure out, well, we can do this. And they're doing areas of land that are just huge. Like huge. Like way bigger than some islands in Greece, like huge. They're huge areas of land that people are going, yep, let's just reforest it all. And so they're getting people to come out, dig it. You can look up the Albaida project, which is, I think it's Albaidh. I might have spelt that wrong, but it's with a guy called Neil Spackman, Neil Spackman, Spackman. And they've just done a huge scale regeneration. And then my teacher just went out and did another one as well recently. And yeah, like these are like areas of small countries, so they'll probably be bigger than Malta. And they're showing that with this help, with this support from governments, we can go miles. There's another project in Italy where they're regenerating abandoned villages in Italy. So it's in an area called Paterno. I'll probably say that as best as I can. Paterno in southern Italy. And they've got this like little village. It's abandoned. They're filling it up with people that want to do permaculture and regenerate the village. And the way the local council did that was no one had been living in it for 10 years. And they just said, look, by law, we can claim this back. We've claimed it back, and we're going to give it to people who want to regenerate it. So that's what they did. Are
these people that are across different countries and regenerating, are they in touch with each other? Are they communicating with each other?
Yeah, to a certain degree. Every 2 years, there's an international permaculture convention somewhere in the world. So this year's was supposed to be in Argentina, but because of Corona, it's been postponed to next year. It'll still be in Argentina. So if anyone's in that area or wants to head to that area, then there's a big convergence happening from last time it was in India.
I had this project I did. You find it interesting? So I looked at the map of Athens, right? And there's like about 20 green areas built into all the cement, okay, of the whole city. So it's 20 parks. So I had an idea. I'm like, you know what? It's only 20 parks. You don't even need a lot of people. Let's just grab a whole bunch of seeds. Everybody gets their own seeds and go to these 20 parks and plant these fruit trees and stuff like that. This is a fun, nice little project. Learning for awareness and for making these little green patches, food trees and stuff like that. Does that sound like a cool idea? Is it worth doing it or a waste of time and energy, you think?
I think it's awesome. I think any change we can create is awesome. But I think we all need to think about, like, what's the most effective thing I can do? Like, what's the thing that's going to be use of my energy and make the biggest difference? And for people in a town in Australia, it's called Daylesford, if you want to look it up. It's where David Holmgren, the co-originator of permaculture, lives near. They just went and planted a bunch of food. They went out and just turned a big lot into a community garden. The council came and was like, well, this is totally illegal. You guys aren't allowed to do this at all. But they preempted it, and they'd already gotten a lot of people involved, and they represented quite a large voting bloc. And so they all sent them letters and said, we want this is why we want it, this is what's going on, and this will be how we look after it. And the local government was kind of like, whoa, we really don't want these people to get away with it. But it kind of got to this point where they couldn't push any further with it, because enough people were in support, enough people were looking after it and loving it, that it was like, it had just gotten too far for them to dismantle it.
Nice.
So they went, okay, we'll let you have it. And since then, there's been 5 more.
Power of the people.
So that, yeah, man, power of the people.
That's what unification does, my man.
So for these guys, it was an awesome use of energy and an awesome use of time. And if that's the bent, if that's the direction, if you're in Athens and you want a regenerative project, you want to help people have a bit of and let's look at it this way as well. Like for the people in Syria, for the people living in Damascus, they didn't expect things to hit the fan. I don't think if you're living there and you're expecting things to hit the fan, you'd leave. You'd pack your stuff and you'd go. You wouldn't want to get caught in the middle of a concrete jungle when stuff's getting really hard. Like if food stops coming to you, what do you do? What do you do? And so in Europe,
you grow a garden on your roof, dude. That's what you do.
Yes, man. Yes.
That's what you fucking do.
The thing that saved people in Europe during World War II was this. It was gardens.
That's the second thing I want to talk about. Isn't it a great idea, dude? Shouldn't everybody have a garden on their balconies and on their roofs? Because the people own the buildings here too, right? And then if the community gets together, all the produce that they create in their gardens, they can take it to the local market and fucking sell it and create an economy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because I'm like, why isn't anybody doing this? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, being stuck in an apartment for a while and being a farmer, I've actually grown a bit of stuff while I've been in here. I've sprouted grains. Microgreens was something that I was given a crack, and I've got a bag of coffee grounds that I was turning into mushrooms. And for anyone living inside, growing mushrooms is just such a lucrative business. If you want to make quite a bit of money off growing food in an apartment, mushrooms. Like you go to the shop, think about how much mushrooms cost. You go to shops and think about how much special mushrooms cost, like mushrooms that you don't get every day, like maybe some sort of rare oyster variety or something. And they're easy to grow, man.
I'm not kidding you. Listen to this. Is it possible that you can kind of guide me maybe of how to freaking set up properly a balcony and a roof thing, so I can film it on video and be like a guide to other people to do it here in Athens as well?
Cool, brother.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of videos on YouTube of how to do it, but maybe they'll get inspired. A Greek person in Greece doing it and promoting the shit out of it and trying to get a movement on that.
Awesome, brother. The more videos and stuff we can get out there, the more content we can get out, then there's more and more stuff to hit the mainstream. And we can make it look good, however people are going to do it. Just the more content that's out there, it might reach one person, but that might change your life. That's good enough for me.
Let's have this conversation and tell me maybe a few steps of how I do this so I can start developing something like this. What will I need so I can wrap my mind around it and make a project out of it and start it. Because I want to do it and film the process and freaking just put it out there and there's no reason to have economical difficulty, dude, if you just fucking think and collaborate your powers.
Need a few skills and a little somewhere to do something.
The desire, the will, the starting, project, strategy, building up plan.